First of all, our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Shanice Smith, 19 years of age, Indian River County resident who lost her life in clearly what is a domestic violence related murder. Shortly after 11 p.m. last night, some of our deputies right here on the campus of the Indian River County Sheriff's Office heard what they appeared to be gunshots in an adjoining neighborhood. They quickly responded, and simultaneously a 911 call came in at that location, which was in the area of the Orangewood Apartments in the playground area. Upon arrival, our deputies discovered what appeared to be a deceased black female, which was later identified as Shanice Smith, age 19, and a severely wounded black female by the name of Brittany Jackson. Shortly thereafter, our deputies established perimeters, asked for some assistance from other responding deputies, immediately set up a crime scene as well as a perimeter. Within hours, witnesses and family members of the deceased and the severely injured began to come forward. We continued to follow any and all leads, and in the early morning hours, the word had gotten back to our primary suspect, LaShawn Shelley, who in fact turned himself in to the Indian River County Jail, not admitting that he had committed the crimes, but knew that we had an interest in chatting with him. Early this afternoon, our detectives did a wonderful job and spoke to Mr. Shelley for quite some time, at which point Mr. Shelley confessed to the murder of Shanice Smith and described the actions last night, which began as a heated discussion. Mr. Shelley had a relationship with Miss Brittany Jackson, who is on her way of making a recovery. Miss Jackson did sustain multiple gunshot injuries. However, it's my understanding that she will survive. That is the domestic violence portion, that Mr. Shelley had that relationship with Miss Jackson. And unfortunately, Miss Smith was with Miss Jackson at the time of the shooting and sustained fatal gunshot wounds and gunshot injuries. So it's this time that LaShawn Shelley is in custody of the Indian River County Sheriff's Office. In fact, he's in the Indian River County Jail awaiting first appearance at 8:30 a.m., where we expect there will be no bond, as he has several felony charges against him, to include first-degree murder as well as attempted first-degree murder. Any questions?
Where do you go from here in the investigation?
Well, essentially we continue to recover evidence. There's some vital evidence that we're continuing to recover. We have additional witnesses that we will be speaking with. But again, our thoughts and prayers go out to the Smith family. Our victims advocate team are helping the Smith family as we speak, and they continue to help that family go through a tragedy. Additionally, the Jackson family continues to hope and pray that their loved one recovers fully. But for the time being, Mr. Shelley will be in our custody. We expect and we will be prosecuting him to the extent, and we're very confident that Mr. Shelley's long career of violent crimes that include domestic violence, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, several types of battery with weapons, several types of trespassing, and additionally some probation violations. As you know, Mr. Shelley was released from the Department of Corrections less than 2 years ago for other felonies that he had committed, and it is our desire to see Mr. Shelley return to the Department of Corrections in short order.
You mentioned that Shelley had admitted to doing what he did. Did he say why?
Apparently, Mr. Shelley and Miss Jackson had some type of domestic relationship. At some point, things evolved into a heated discussion, and that is from what witnesses have told us, and apparently this appears to be a relationship issue, at which point Mr. Shelley was frustrated. We believe that he initially shot Miss Smith, and then ultimately Miss Jackson.
Has a weapon been recovered?
We're still in that stage of the investigation.
You said he was released 2 years ago?
I believe so.
What was he serving time for?
I believe that was aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
What's your thought? How do you assess the idea that he was out in the streets and
Well,
still behind bars?
Well, first of all, we have to remember that we feel very comfortable that this is an isolated domestic violence tragedy. This is not a random act of violence. This is two known folks involved with a criminal. To answer your question, sir, with respect to the judicial system, with him getting out of Department of Corrections, I believe it was 19 months ago. It all depends on the circumstances surrounding it, what his score was, so to speak, when he was admitted to Department of Corrections, and ultimately serving 85% of his time, of his sentence, and then returning to Indian River County.
How old is Jackson?
Jackson is 19 years of age.
By my count, we're at 4 murders approximately last month. What's going
Right.
on in Indian River County?
Well, you have to look at each one independently and distinctively, and all of the circumstances surrounding these particular 4 murders that you speak of are separate and distinct. One clearly is domestic violence related. One, as I presume you're speaking of the one in the city of Vero Beach, that was a robbery, essentially that went bad. More recently, we have another one that is under investigation, but we do feel that those circumstances again are isolated in that the criminal history of that particular victim would lead us to believe that that's not a typical murder that you would see ordinarily. There's other factors involving that particular case.
How surprised are you to see so many of these happening at the same time?
Well, anytime we have a tragedy or a murder like this in Indian River County, it's a difficult time for all of us. We just know that we're confident in the staff that we have and the resources that we have to solve these crimes. Oftentimes, domestic violence cannot be policed. We can educate as much as we possibly can. However, when you have domestic violence relationships, law enforcement has a difficult time preventing such tragedies as this.
Do you recall any instances where we had this many crimes like this in a short period of time?
Several years ago, but not in recent time.
Can you comment at all on the ongoing investigation with regards to the gentleman whose body was found last week?
We continue to make progress in that investigation, and we hope to have some type of closure in the next few days.
When you say residents who have a kind of maybe an overall sense of fear right now with the idea that you had 4 murders in a month?
Now, Indian River County continues to be a safe county. All of the recent murders that you speak of are separate and distinct. There's clearly very, very distinctive reasonings or happenstance surrounding each and every one of those. These are not murders that the suspect is unknown to the victim. In 3 of the 4, the suspect, in fact, had intimate relationships that we believe with the victim.
Describe Shelley to Jackson as an ex-boyfriend?
We know that they had some type of romantic relationship in the past, and we have reason to believe that the events of last night surrounded some type of disengagement of that relationship.
Is there a pending court case as well?
I'm not certain about a pending, in other words, a domestic violence injunction or something. I'm not exactly sure about that. We don't believe so.
What about Smith? Why did he shoot Smith? Did he say?
I don't know that information specifically, but we do know that Smith and Jackson were in fact together in that playground park area, conversing shortly after 11 o'clock.
Is it LaShannon Shelley or LaShawn Shelley?
It's LaShannon Shelley. He goes by Shannon Shelley.
The name of the apartment is in Orangewood Park or Orangewood Street, Orangewood?
Orangewood Park Apartments.
Is he maintaining it was an accident?
We have a confession from him that leads us to believe that we have the probable cause to make those charges.